Today's postcard is from Chichester Cathedral in the county of Sussex, and our guide is the lovely Holly Stenterford. Now, are we in the cloisters?
Yes, we are, but that, although we call them the cloisters, and everybody in Chichester says walk through the cloisters, they're not true cloisters, they are covered walkways. To have had true cloisters, we would have had a monastic community in Chichester, and here there's only ever been a dean and chapter, a secular community.
Now, this looks an important gateway to me.
Yes, this is the entrance to the cathedral called St. Richard's Porch, and this was the way St. Richard would have walked into the cathedral. He was bishop here in the Middle Ages for only 8 years, very much known and greatly loved throughout the whole of the county, and only 9 years after he died he was canonised and made a saint, and his body brought to a shrine in the cathedral.
Well, this is a most unusual and modern font. I've seen Saxon ones, Norman ones, Victorian ones, Georgian ones, Jacobean ones, but I've never seen one of these ones.
This one's very modern. This was placed here in 1983. It's part of the memorial to Bishop George Bell, our great bishop of this century. And it was quarried, this stone was quarried in one piece on the edge of Bodmin Moor. It's called Polyphant. So this is Cornish stone.
Right. And it's a most wonderful
Isn't
feel.
it?
No wonder people want to keep touching it. Look at all those finger marks.
No, when it's just been polished, it looks absolutely fabulous. But obviously, people always want to touch, and it's right that they should.
Is this copper in the middle?
Copper, yes, yes.
It is wonderful.
It is.
It's very soft. It's almost silky, the whole
Yes,
thing.
this particularly, one feels you really want to touch it.
What happened to the original one?
I think it ended up in the Dean's garden last time I heard of it.
The birds are getting a drink, though.
It wasn't an old one. It was a Victorian one. I don't know what happened to the original. But the artist chose those colours to go with the Fibush painting.
What's the history behind that? Looks like John the Baptist to me.
Yes, it is. As you see, it was Christ with his feet in the River Jordan and his hands out accepting the fate that awaits him. But this was painted by Hans Fibush, a German Jew who left Nazi Germany in 1933. Now, Bishop Bell supported the German church before, during and after the war, and worked for reconciliation between the countries after the war. So this was painted by Hans Fibush in 1952.
Now that's very interesting, that partition in the middle.
Yes, it was placed there in 1475.
Oh, as long ago as that?
Yes, at the request of Bishop Arundel. Now he wanted virtually to divide the church because this was a large empty hall, no furnishings at all, and therefore the townspeople used it. They used it as a meeting place. And so he had his cannon stalls and so on up there. So it was decided to put that up. And when it was put up, it was solid. So there was only a little tiny doorway through the centre. But you come on to 1859, and suddenly you had a large congregation who all wanted to see the high altar. So they took it down. When they took it down, they found the centre tower was cracking, the tower that supports the spire. They tried for 2 years to repair it and didn't succeed. And in 1861, the centre of the cathedral collapsed.
Did it really?
Totally. So they had to rebuild. And so the spire you see today is a copy of that original.
That wonderful spire
That
from
wonderful
the outside,
spire
isn't it?
was put on by the Victorians in 1861 after the tower collapsed.
Now they've done a good job.
Yes, yes.
And
Here,
look at this.
This was put back in 1961 as part of the memorial to Bishop Bell. And this time these lovely arches were carved in it, so light and sound now goes between the two areas of the cathedral. And it's interesting, isn't it, that we're now back to using this for secular purposes, because during the summer all the chairs are turned round. There's a stage at the far end. We have 3 weeks of fabulous concerts here. So life has come round full circle.
Life is always about circles. Something very modern
Very
here again.
modern.
You're a very modern cathedral here, aren't you? You marry the old with the new.
We're unique among the medieval cathedrals in bringing in art of this century, so much of it. we had Dean Walter Hussey here and Bishop George Bell. Both of them themselves were great patrons of the arts, and they said the church has been so throughout the ages. Everybody has added to the cathedral throughout the centuries, each in their own style, so why not us? So this is the work of Geoffrey Clark and Robert Potter. Geoffrey Clark did a lot of work in Coventry Cathedral, the new Coventry Cathedral
tell that
too.
style, can't
so
you?
you
St.
can see
Michael
the
and
style.
Angels.
That's right.
Yes.
So this is our very modern pulpit.
This window was designed by Marc Chagall in 1978, illustrating Psalm 150. All the original stained glass windows were destroyed by Cromwell's army in the Civil War. What you see now is Victorian. Now there's Henry VIII again in the middle of an extremely attractive and very antique looking, what would you call it? It's a bit like
wall painting.
It is a wall painting.
Yes, but it's on wood, I think. Yes, but we call it the wall painting.
It's like a mural then.
Yes.
A medieval mural.
Mural.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, a bishop in 1520 decided to decorate the cathedral. So he had all the ceilings painted very beautifully, all gone, unfortunately. And we are left with two great wall paintings. In this one, at that end, we have the king at Selsey giving a piece of land to Bishop Wilfrid, who later became Saint Wilfrid, and saying, you may build your church. So that's going back to the origins of the first cathedral in 681.
Right.
On this side, it's divided in half, as you see. On this side, we have Henry VIII. It's always quite unmistakable, isn't he?
He is. He is.
And he's confirming the land in Chichester to Bishop Sherborne. And underneath, some of the kings of England.
Right.
Damaged when the tower fell,
Yes.
and damaged by Cromwell's army. This carving was found under the choir stalls in 1829. We don't know who hid it or why they hid it, but once it was found, we realised we had something very special. It's been looked at by so many experts trying to decide the date, and they've finally come down at about 1125.
That is that.
Yes, so you think the cathedrals they started building in 1075, so this was here very soon afterwards. It tells the story of one of the miracles performed by Jesus, the raising of Lazarus. The artist used the idea of making the most important person the largest. So we have the figure of Christ.
Towering down.
Yes, with his hand outstretched. Behind him, 3 disciples.
Just there.
Over here, Martha and Mary. I always find it amazing to look at their faces. You can see they're grieving for their brother.
You can, yes.
And here we have 2 more disciples. They're bringing Lazarus out of the tomb, which has been opened by these 2 funny little men here, obviously the grave diggers with their tools. And as they bring Lazarus out, they are peeling off the grave clothes. Here's the grave clothes here, and you can see them here. And here's his naked body being assisted out of the tomb by these 2 disciples. Now we know that when it was first carved, it would have been very highly coloured. The experts have found traces of colour all over it, and there would have been precious or semi-precious stones in the eye sockets. So for people who couldn't read or write, it would have shouted at them. But even in this condition, it's very special. So this came in 1966. Caused a great deal of controversy in the city when it was first placed here. Lots and lots of letters to and fro the local paper. But this was designed by John Piper, and his brief was to symbolise the Holy Trinity. So we have in the 3 centre panels a circle of white light at the top for God the Father, a blue tau cross for God the Son, and a wing of flame for the Holy Spirit. Now those 3 are brought together by a green equilateral triangle, which itself symbolises the Trinity.
I can see that now.
Now take the other 4 panels and go from left to right along the top, and those symbols represent the elements of the earth we live in: earth, air, fire and water. Along the bottom, again from left to right, are the 4 evangelists: St. Matthew, St. Mark, St. Luke and St. John. Now in the book of Revelation they're spoken of as having a winged form, so that's what the artist has done. So we have a winged man, a winged lion, a winged ox and a winged eagle. So the tapestry represents God in the heart of the world that he created for us to live in, And along the bottom, the 4 men to whom we accord the writing of the Gospels.
Did you fall out with anybody over this?
Yeah, with my husband.
Are you friends now?
But yes, he thought it was wonderful. I thought it was terrible. I now find I can't imagine the cathedral without it. And when it comes down during Holy Week, which it does, it goes back up on Easter Sunday, ready for Easter Sunday, it's as though the light has gone out of the cathedral. So it's very special to me now. I've been converted to
So
it.
your old man was right.
He was.
I'll let you get back now and make his tea. Thanks, Holly. That was great.